a few days ago, this weird feeling came across me, and then out of nowhere, an album that I dare not think about once again appeared in my memories. And when I went to the Wikipedia page to check, I realized something. It's coming up to the 2 year anniversary of Ka's passing. Shortly after his passing, I came to the realization that I could no longer listen to his music, no longer listen to some of my favorite albums by him, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's because I don't really have a lot of experience with death in my personal life. Maybe it's because I haven't really been surrounded by death in major forms. I'm not too sure. But when you think about it, Ka's not really the biggest artist or the biggest rapper out there. When you look at his Wikipedia page, it's quite short, ending with his discography and collaborative albums. But if you go to a major artist like Kendrick Lamar, you'll realize just how much content there is that people have documented on this Wikipedia page. If you go to his Spotify, you realize that his most popular song sits at 4 million plays. And considering that I still cannot really listen to any of his music for some reason, it got me thinking about what really makes an artist your favorite artist. Is it their music? Is it your experiences surrounding how you discovered that music? How that music played and how it impacted your life? So, how did I come to discover his music in the first place? Originally, growing up, I didn't really listen to full albums as a whole. Mainly, I found songs that I like, added it to my Spotify, and played whatever song Spotify would recommend me, or just listen to the same few hundred songs over and over for many, many years. The main way that I was introduced to his music is during the summer of 2019. I wanted to expand my musical horizons, and I asked one of my friends who was more into listening to a wider variety of artists to give me some recommendations. He gave me some recommendations and some albums, and I went through all of them. And maybe being a neurodivergent person, I decided to list them all out, list my thoughts and feelings, initially in a text document, which I later moved to a Google Sheets document. First, I listened to Honor Kill the Samurai, and frankly speaking, I think it's really, really good. Some of these accolades I think don't do it justice. Some of the hard hitting beats and lyrics of Mourn at Night. We die, we all mourn at night. I think some of the wordplay in this album is just amazing. But I wasn't really hooked into his music yet. It was when I found Orpheus versus the Sirens that I really realized how much I liked his music, how much I liked his wordplay, and how much I liked what he had to say. I think in a lot of ways, just going through his music is like discovering MF Doom for the first time. First, you don't understand it, then you listen to it a bit more, and then you listen to it a bit more, and then you realize, whoa, this is really good. If I had to recommend a way to listen to his music to begin with, I would go with Honor Kill the Samurai, The Knight's Gambit, and then you should definitely listen to Orpheus vs. Siren, Descendants of Cain, Martyr's Reward, and the rest of his music. I think in a lot of ways, music is like a puzzle. The more you listen to it, the more you discover. The more attention you pay to the beats, the lyrics, the sounds, the more that you discover about maybe yourself and maybe about what the artist is trying to say. But before diving into the albums, I think you have to take a look into the artist and their background. As my teacher in high school once said, the best way to figure out about an artist is to look at the time period in which that period of art was created. What is the context surrounding it? And his Wikipedia page is a pretty good way to go into that. In a lot of ways, I think I have to agree with whoever wrote this section of the Wikipedia article about his musical style. In a lot of ways, he acts like a sage of underground rap, and in a lot of ways, his lyrics almost sound like slam poetry over devastating beats. And if we think about the area which he grew up in the late 20th century, we can see how some of the ways that he grew up inspired his music, as it's directly referenced in the music too. Just from a cursory viewing of the Wikipedia article, you can see how the neighborhood developed, how it grew, how it changed. I think if you're more interested in it, you can just go to the Brownsville Wikipedia page to learn more about this really interesting area of the world. While Honor Killed the Samurai is really good, I think my favorite album out of all of his music is definitely Orpheus versus the Sirens, a collaborative album between him and Anemos. I've listened to this album many, many times at this point. The way that I would consume this album initially is there would be around a 15 to 16-minute walk between where I lived and the summer job I was working during 2019. And in the mornings, when I would go to work, I would listen to half of the music. And then on the way back, I would listen to the second half of the album. I think over the course of the summer, I must have listened to this album at least 20, 21 times. As I listened to each song more and more, I discovered more and more in the music themselves. And I think this is pretty obvious when you consider the title of the album itself, Orpheus versus the Sirens, where he plays as Orpheus and he describes himself in the background of this concept album. But when you think about the sirens, the sirens of a police car, it also describes his growing up and the kind of things that he had to face. I think when you look at some of his verses, it's really interesting to see how the more that you think about it, the more that it resonates with you. This line, for example, Brand last, cause on this land mass, fortunate first. Of course, when I was lost, it was important to search. This feels more like a line out of some slam poetry compared to a rap album. And we can see all the different meanings that this contributor describes that they got personally from the music. But maybe it'll be different for you when you listen to this yourself. In a lot of ways, these things that he's seeking were his personal golden fleece and his forever quest. And one of the main things that I like about his music is how much the chorus impacts you. Pray you a hunter, for hunters prey on you today. Just the wordplay of that line is quite simply amazing. In Atlas, one of my favorite lines takes place. Most these fuckers ducks, don't let them all geese you. In a lot of ways, I don't think I can ever forget this line. And in his Filth album, when this initially came out and I listened to it, I thought it was really amazing. I think while there were some low lows in this album, there were some really, really high highs. One of the lines in this album is brothers killing brothers, descendants of Cain, which really brings back the whole biblical theme of this album and what Carl was trying to say about it. And the ending of this album really goes to show the impact that a lot of different people had in his life. And I think his music really goes to show how much I enjoy concept albums. When I first discovered The Wall when I was in high school and had to do a project on it, it really went to show how much a concept album can drive the meaning behind music itself. Containing a story within a story, I think, is one of the best ways to tell a narrative. I'm not really sure what this album means to me anymore. In a lot of ways, this album was kind of like a pillar to the background of a lot of my events in my life. When there was a hard test that I was studying for, I would put on this album and completely at that point I had known the lyrics so well, the flow of the beats and how the music changed that it would instantly snap me into a place of focus. And I can't really do that anymore, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think it's because of his passing necessarily. I think it's more so because of how I felt when I was waiting for new music to come out. And after knowing that no more new music will come out, my relationship with the artist changed. I'm not exactly sure how it changed, if it changed for the better or for the worse. But I think maybe I will listen to the album again. A state of mind knowing that there will be no more music made in relation to this artist, but that I can still enjoy it. And I think my relationship with music has changed. When someone says this artist is their favorite, or that artist is their favorite, or this album they like the most, or these songs they don't like, I don't think about how good that song is purely from an objective point of view. I think about how that music played into their lives, how it impacted them. And that's probably why it's their favorite music. If you go to the most streamed albums on Spotify, you see a lot of pretty famous artists, and you don't see his name among them. But I think that doesn't make his music any worse than any of these albums. As I'm getting older, I'm starting to think that music is a lot more relative than objective. When I was younger, I thought it was objective. You could objectively tell when something was good or something was bad. But now I think it's a lot more personal. I've never lived your life, and you've never lived mine. So how can I judge the kind of things that you enjoy? But then again, maybe it's not really all that serious.